Lesson 22, Section 2, Bull Run, A Great Awakening. In the spring of 1861, President Lincoln and General Winfield Scott planned the Union's war strategy. Step 1 was to surround the South by sea to cut off its trade. Step 2 was to divide the Confederacy into sections to prevent one region from helping another. Step 3 was to capture Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy, and destroy the Confederate government. Journalists called this strategy the Anaconda Plan because it resembled the crushing death grip of an anaconda snake. Rose Greenhow's Dilemma. Most Northerners believed that the war could be won with a single Union assault on Richmond. In 1861, thousands of volunteers poured into Washington, D.C., shouting, "On to Richmond!" A young widow and Washington social leader named Rose O'Neal Greenhow watched these eager troops carefully. Greenhow was a strong supporter of the Southern cause and used her friendship with government officials to learn just when and how the Union planned to attack Richmond. Her challenge was to find a way to deliver this information to Confederate leaders without being discovered. The Battle of Bull Run. On a hot July morning, long lines of Union soldiers marched out of Washington, heading for Richmond. Their voices could be heard singing and cheering across the countryside. Parties of civilians followed the army in hopes of seeing the end of the rebellion, adding to the excitement. The troops would not have been so cheerful had they known what awaited them at Manassas, a small town on the way to Richmond. Greenhow had managed to warn Southern military leaders of Union plans by smuggling a coded note to them in a young girl's curls. Southern troops were waiting for the Union forces as they approached Manassas, and the two armies met at a creek known as Bull Run. At first, a Union victory looked certain, but Confederate General Thomas Jackson and his regiment of Virginians refused to give up. "Look!" shouted South Carolina General Bernard Bee to his men. "There is Jackson with his Virginians, standing like a stone wall." Thus inspired by Stonewall Jackson's example, the Confederate lines held firm until reinforcements arrived. A reinforcement is something that increases the strength with additional support. Late that afternoon, Jackson urged his men to "yell like furies" as they charged the Union forces. The charge overwhelmed the inexperienced Union troops, who fled in panic back to Washington. Although the Battle of Bull Run was a smashing victory for the South, it was a shocking defeat for the North. Lincoln and his generals realized that ending the war would not be easy. Women support the war. Over the next year, both the North and the South worked to build and train large armies. As men went off to war, women took their places on the home front. Wives and mothers supported their families by running farms and businesses, while other women went to work for the first time in factories or found jobs as nurses, teachers, or government workers. Women also served the military forces on both sides as messengers, guides, scouts, smugglers, soldiers, and spies. Rose Greenhow was arrested for spying shortly after the Battle of Bull Run, and despite being kept under guard in her Washington home, she managed to continue smuggling military secrets to the Confederates. The following year, Greenhow was allowed to move to the South, where President Jefferson Davis welcomed her as a hero. Women also volunteered to tend sick and wounded soldiers. Dorothea Dix, who was already well known for her efforts to improve the treatment of the mentally ill, was appointed director of the Union Army's nursing service. Dix insisted that all female nurses be over 30 years old, plain in appearance, physically strong, and willing to do unpleasant work. Her rules were so strict that she became known as Dragon Dix. While most nurses worked in military hospitals, Clara Barton followed Union armies into battle, tending troops where they fell. Later generations would remember Barton as the founder of the American Red Cross, but to the soldiers she cared for during the war, she was the angel of the battlefield.